Cole pushed his cleaning cart through the long white hallway of Orbital Station 7. The wheels squeaked against the smooth floor. He had asked for oil 3 times, but nobody listened to the janitor. The station floated in the cold darkness of space, far from Earth, far from anything once called home. It was a meeting place for aliens from different worlds. Important beings came here to talk, make deals, and pretend to be friends, and cleaned up after them. He had worked here for 3 years now. 3 years of mopping floors, emptying trash, and fixing things that nobody asked him to fix. 3 years of being invisible. They built this station. They were tall creatures, almost 7 feet, with skin that glowed softly like the moon. They had 4 fingers on each hand, long and thin, perfect for their delicate machines. They moved like dancers, smooth and graceful, and they looked at humans the way humans might look at a dog that learned to walk on 2 legs. Interesting, perhaps, but not equal. Stopped his cart to let a group of diplomats pass. They wore flowing robes of silver and blue. Their skin pulsed with soft light as they talked in their musical language. Not one of them looked at. He was furniture to them, a tool, something that existed only to serve. He was used to it now. When they passed, continued down the hallway towards Section 7 Gamma. This was the old part of the station, where the pipes leaked and the lights flickered. They never came here unless they had to. It was dirty. It was beneath them. But liked it here. In these forgotten tunnels he could think, he could work, he could be himself. Before the aliens came to Earth, before everything changed, had been an engineer. He spent 15 years building and fixing electrical systems on the moon. He was good at it. Really good. His hands knew machines the way a musician's hands knew an instrument. Then came the collapse. Earth's economy fell apart when humanity realized they were not alone in the universe. The aliens had technology that made human machines look like children's toys. Millions of engineers, scientists, and builders lost their jobs. Why hire a human when machines could do it better? Found work where he could, cleaning, carrying, the jobs nobody else wanted. He ended up on 7 because they needed someone to crawl into the small spaces that bodies could not fit, someone to do the dirty work. He did not complain. He kept his head down, and every night when his shift ended, he studied. They did not lock their technical databases. Why would they? No human could understand their advanced systems. That was what they believed. They were wrong. Spent hundreds of hours reading their engineering files. At first, the concepts seemed impossible. The used principles that human science had not discovered yet, but slowly, piece by piece, began to understand. Their technology was different, yes, but it still followed rules. It still had patterns, and patterns were something understood very well. He reached Section 7 Gamma and opened a maintenance panel in the wall. Behind it was a mess of glowing cables and crystal circuits. Beautiful engineering, now covered in dust and moisture. Frowned. He had reported this problem 6 months ago. The humidity from a nearby cooling system was damaging the circuits. Small cracks were forming in the crystal relays. Nothing serious yet, but given time, it would cause problems. The technician had looked at his report and laughed. A janitor telling engineers how to do their job. The report went in the trash. Now the cracks were bigger. Could see the early signs of power fluctuation in the dim flicker of nearby lights. He pulled a small tool from his pocket and began cleaning the moisture from the circuits. It would not fix the problem, but it might slow it down. This was his secret work. Every day, while he cleaned floors and emptied trash, also kept the station alive. He tightened loose bolts. He cleared blocked vents. He did 100 small repairs that nobody noticed and nobody thanked him for. They believed their station ran perfectly because of their superior design. They did not know that a human janitor was holding it together with tape and wire and stubbornness. Finished his work and closed the panel. As he turned back to his cart, he nearly bumped into a young. This one was different from the diplomats. He wore the simple gray uniform of a junior technician. His skin glow was softer, less confident. His name was, and he was one of the few who actually saw as a person. Said, his voice carrying the musical quality of his species. "You are in Section 7 Gamma again." "Just cleaning," said. Looked at the maintenance panel, then back at. His large, dark eyes held something like curiosity. "You spend much time in the maintenance areas, more than your job requires." Shrugged, "I like it here, quiet." "I have seen your reports," said quietly. "The ones about system problems, they are surprisingly accurate for a cleaning worker." Felt a small spark of worry. Was he in trouble? Had someone noticed his unauthorized repairs? But did not look angry. He looked confused, like he was trying to solve a puzzle. "The humidity problem you reported," continued. "I checked it myself. You were correct. The damage is progressing as you predicted." "Did you fix it?" His glow dimmed slightly, the equivalent of embarrassment. "I tried to raise the issue with Overseer. He said that a junior technician should not waste time on problems identified by cleaning staff." Nodded slowly. This did not surprise him, and so nothing will be done. "I am sorry, our ways are rigid. Status matters very much to my people. A janitor cannot teach an engineer even if the janitor is correct. It is simply not how things work." Picked up his cleaning cart and began walking, fell into step beside him. "Can I ask you something?" said. "Why do you do it? Why do you care about systems that are not your responsibility? We do not treat you well, we do not respect you, yet you keep trying to help." Thought about this for a long moment. He thought about Earth, about the moon colonies, about everything he had lost. He thought about his hands, rough and from years of work. "Because things that are broken bother me," he finally said. "I see a problem and I want to fix it. I cannot help it. It is just who I am." Was quiet for a moment. "That is a very human thing, I think." "Maybe," said, "or maybe it is just a thing." He pushed his cart around a corner and continued his work. Tomorrow he would check Section 7 Gamma again. And the day after that. He would keep doing his invisible work, keep holding the station together, keep being the janitor that nobody saw. Until the day they could not ignore him anymore. That day was coming sooner than anyone knew. The message came on a cold Tuesday morning. Was eating his breakfast in the small room they gave him near the cargo bay. It was not much. A bed, a table, a window that showed only stars. But it was his, and after 3 years it felt like home. His communication pad blinked with an urgent notice. "Report to administrator. Immediately." Put down his food. His stomach tightened. In 3 years he had never been called to the administrator's office. Janitors did not meet with administrators. Something was wrong. He walked through the station's bright hallways, past the beautiful gardens and the flowing fountains that they loved so much. Other workers passed him, some human, some alien. None of them met his eyes. Word traveled fast on a station this size. They already knew something he did not. The administrator's office was at the top of the station, with windows that looked out at the stars in every direction. Had cleaned this office many times, always when was not there. Now he stood at her door and pressed the entry button. The door slid open. Sat behind a desk made of crystal that seemed to float in the air. She was tall, even for and her skin glowed with the bright blue light of authority. Her four-fingered hands rested on the desk, perfectly still. Beside her stood Overseer, the head of station operations. He was older than his glow faded to a dull silver. His face held an expression that had seen many times before. It was the look they gave to things they found unpleasant, like garbage, like insects, like humans. "Cole," said, her voice was calm and cold. "Thank you for coming." Stood straight. "How can I help you, administrator?" "You cannot," said. "That is why you are here. Your services are no longer required on this station." The words hit like a punch to the chest. He had expected many things: a complaint about his work, a question about his unauthorized repairs, but not this. "I do not understand," he said carefully. "Have I done something wrong?" Overseer made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Wrong? No, you have simply become unnecessary. We are installing new automated cleaning systems, machines that are more efficient, more hygienic." He paused, and his glow brightened with satisfaction. "More appropriate for a station of our importance." Looked at the administrator. "The new cleaning drones, I have seen them." "Then you understand," said. "The drones will handle all sanitation duties. Human workers are no longer needed in this capacity. You will receive payment for your remaining contract and transport to the nearest human-friendly station." His mind raced. He thought about the drones he had seen moving through the hallways. Sleek, silver machines that floated above the floor. Beautiful engineering. And completely wrong for the station. "The drones," said slowly, "they are not designed for all areas of the station." Overseer's eyes narrowed. "Excuse me." "The lower sections, the maintenance tunnels, the humidity there is too high for their sensors. The moisture will damage their circuits within weeks, maybe days." And exchanged a look, then stepped forward, his glow pulsing with anger. "Are you suggesting," he said, his voice like ice, "that you understand our technology better than our engineers? You are a cleaning worker, a human. You push a cart and empty trash. Do not pretend to be something you are not." Looked at him. He looked at. He saw what he had always seen in the brilliant minds, advanced technology, and a pride so deep that they could not imagine learning anything from a lesser species. For 3 years had stayed quiet. He had done his work. He had kept his head down. He had tried to help in small ways, invisible ways, never asking for thanks or recognition. But now they were throwing him away, and something inside him finally broke. "You are making a mistake," said. His voice was calm, but there was steel in it. "Not because I am special, but because you do not know your own station. You built something beautiful, and then you forgot about it. You let it rust and crack in the dark places while you walked through the bright hallways telling yourselves how perfect everything was." Overseer's glow flared bright red. "How dare you?" "I have spent 3 years crawling through your maintenance tunnels," continued. "I have fixed things you did not know were broken. I have held your station together with wire and tape while your engineers wrote reports saying everything was fine. And I did it because I care about this place, even though you do not care about me." The room was silent, stared at with an expression he could not read, looked like he wanted to throw out the airlock. "You are emotional," finally said. "This is understandable. Humans are emotional creatures, but our decision is final. You will leave the station when transport arrives in 6 days. Until then, you may remain in the cargo quarters, out of the way." Nodded slowly. There was nothing more to say. He had spoken truth and they had not listened. This was how it always went with the "One more thing," added as turned to leave. "You are no longer authorized to access maintenance areas. You will stay in approved sections only. Is that understood?" "Understood," said. He walked out of the office and back through the beautiful hallways. The fountains still flowed. The garden still bloomed. Everything looked perfect on the surface. But knew better. He knew about the cracks forming in Section 7 Gamma. He knew about the moisture building up in the lower decks. He knew about a dozen small problems that were slowly getting worse. The automated drones would not find these problems. They would clean the floors and empty the trash, but they would not crawl into the dark spaces. They would not notice the things that were slowly breaking. Returned to his small room and sat on his bed. He looked out at the stars and wondered what came next. Another station, maybe. Another job pushing a cart and being invisible. He should have felt sad or angry, but instead he felt strangely calm. Because deep in his gut knew something that did not. Their perfect station was sick, and without someone to care for it, someone who was willing to get their hands dirty, that sickness would grow. He gave them 3 days before something went wrong. He was wrong, it only took 2. On the morning of his 3rd day in the cargo quarters felt the station shake. The lights flickered and died, and in the sudden darkness, alarms began to scream. Something had finally broken, and this time there was no invisible janitor to fix it. Or so the thought. The darkness was complete. Sat up in his bed as the emergency lights slowly came on, painting everything in deep red. The station groaned around him like a wounded animal. Through the floor, he could feel vibrations that did not belong. Something was very wrong. The alarm system came alive, filling the air with a calm voice that somehow made everything more terrifying. Alert, defense grid offline. Shield generators offline. Primary power offline. All personnel proceed to emergency stations. Jumped out of bed and ran to the small computer terminal in his room. His fingers moved fast, pulling up the external cameras. What he saw made his blood turn cold. 3 ships hung in the darkness outside the station. They were ugly things, covered in weapons and sharp angles. Their hulls were painted with symbols that recognized from news reports back on Earth. Raiders. They were the wolves of space. They traveled in packs, hunting for weak targets. They attacked stations and ships that could not defend themselves, taking everything of value and leaving nothing behind. They had no home world, no government, no rules, only hunger. And right now, they were looking at Seven like it was dinner. Grabbed his boots and ran out of his room. The hallways were chaos. Workers rushed in every direction, their skin flashing with the yellow-white light of fear. Nobody seemed to know what to do. He pushed through the crowd toward the command center. He knew he was not supposed to be there. He knew they had taken away his access, but none of that mattered now. When he reached the command center, the doors were open. Inside, he found even more chaos. Officers sat at their stations, their 4-fingered hands dancing across control panels that showed only error messages. Their faces held expressions of confusion and panic. This was not supposed to happen. Their systems were perfect. Their technology was advanced. Things like this did not happen to the. But it was happening now. Administrator stood in the center of the room, her glow dimmed to almost nothing. She looked lost. Beside her, Overseer was shouting at a young technician. "Why will the defense grid not start?" demanded. "Run the initialization sequence again." "I have run it 12 times, the technician said. His voice shook with fear. "The system is caught in a feedback loop. The power keeps cycling through the same broken path. It cannot break free." "Then find the break and fix it." "We cannot. The diagnostic systems cannot locate the source. The failure is somewhere in the physical infrastructure, the maintenance tunnels." Silence fell over the room. The maintenance tunnels, the dark, dirty spaces that no ever entered, the spaces where had worked for 3 years. His face twisted with frustration. "Send the repair drones." "The drones cannot fit in the smaller tunnels," another officer said. "And their sensors. The humidity is interfering with their navigation. 2 have already shut down." Almost laughed. He had warned them. He had told them exactly this would happen. But now was not the time for "I told you so." Now was the time for action. He stepped forward into the room. "I can find the problem." Every eye turned to him. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then Overseer made a sound of disgust. "The janitor. This is your solution. We are under attack by raiders, our defense grid is dead, and you want to send a cleaning worker to fix it." "I know those tunnels," said. His voice was calm and steady. "I know every pipe, every wire, every junction. I have been crawling through them for 3 years while your engineers sat in their comfortable offices." "Impossible," said. "A human cannot understand technology. It is too advanced, too complex." "The failure started in Junction 7 Gamma," said. "Sector 12, Level 4. The humidity damage I reported 6 months ago finally caused a cascade failure in the relay crystals. The power is bouncing between 3 burned-out nodes, each one trying to pass the load to the next. Your system is looking for a clean solution, but there is no clean solution. The loop is closed. The room went quiet again. The technicians at their stations turned to look at with something like shock. What he had just described was exactly what their diagnostics were showing, but they had needed hours and advanced computers to figure it out. This human had known in seconds. Administrator stepped forward, her eyes studied carefully. How do you know this? Because I have been watching your systems fail for months, said. Small failures at first, a flicker here, a glitch there. I reported them. Nobody listened, so I fixed what I could and waited for the day when something too big would break. And now that day has come, said softly. The station shuddered. On the main screen, the ships moved closer. One of them extended long metal arms toward the station's hull, boarding clamps. They are preparing to board, an officer announced. His voice cracked with fear. We have maybe 20 minutes. Looked at, her glow was still dim, but something new flickered in her eyes. Something that looked almost like hope. Can you fix it? She asked. Thought about the tunnels. He thought about the burned relays and the closed loop. He thought about technology that was designed to be perfect and beautiful, with no room for ugly solutions. Maybe, he said, but I will have to do it my way, and your engineers will not like it. I do not care what they like, said. I care about saving the station. What do you need? Access to the primary defense mainframe codes, someone in engineering to relay my commands, and everyone to stay out of my way. Overseer stepped forward, his glow pulsing with anger. Administrator, you cannot seriously be considering this. He is a janitor, a human. If word gets out that we let a cleaning worker touch our defense systems. If our defense systems do not come online, interrupted, there will be no one left to spread that word. She turned back to, you have what you need, go. Nodded and turned toward the door. As he left, he heard his voice behind him, bitter and sharp. This is madness, trusting our lives to a primitive. Did not look back. There was no time for arguments, no time for pride. There was only the job that needed to be done. He ran through the red-lit hallways toward the nearest maintenance access point. Around him, the station continued to groan and shake. The ships were getting closer. 20 minutes, maybe less. Reached the access hatch and pulled it open. Warm, humid air rushed out, carrying the smell of hot metal and burned circuits. The tunnel stretched into darkness before him. He took a deep breath and climbed inside. Behind him, the hatch closed with a heavy clang. Ahead of him, somewhere in the darkness, was the broken heart of the station. And beyond that, 3 ships full of raiders who were counting on that heart staying broken. They did not know about Cole. They did not know about the stubborn human who refused to let broken things stay broken. They were about to find out. The tunnel was hot and dark. Crawled forward on his hands and knees, his small flashlight cutting through the blackness. Pipes ran along the walls, some cold, some burning hot. The air was thick with moisture that stuck to his skin and made breathing difficult. In his ear, a communication device crackled to life. Can you hear me? The voice was familiar. It was the young technician who had shown him kindness. I hear you, said, pushing past a tangle of cables. Are you my relay to engineering? Yes, administrator assigned me personally. There was a pause. Are you sure about this? The tunnels are dangerous. The heat alone could. I have been in these tunnels 100 times, said. Do not worry about me. Just be ready to do exactly what I say when I say it. We will not have much time. Understood. Continued forward. The tunnel split into 3 directions ahead. According to the station maps, the left path led to Junction 7 Gamma, but knew better. The maps were wrong. Someone had changed the tunnel layout years ago and never updated the records. He took the middle path. That is not correct, said. The junction should be to your left. Trust me. The middle tunnel sloped downward, getting as went deeper. Soon he was crawling on his belly, pulling himself forward with his elbows. The heat was getting worse. Sweat dripped into his eyes. Finally, the tunnel opened into a small chamber, and there it was. Junction 7 Gamma. The crystal relays that controlled this section of the defense grid were arranged in a beautiful pattern, like frozen flowers made of light. But several of those flowers were dark now, burned out, and the one still working flickered with unstable energy, cycling power back and forth in an endless loop. Studied the damage. It was worse than he had expected. The cascade failure had burned out not just the primary relays, but also the backup systems. They had designed their technology to be self-healing, but when too many things failed at once, the healing systems just made the problem worse. Each relay tried to fix the next one, creating a circle of failure with no exit. I see the problem, said. 6 relays are burned out completely. 3 more are damaged but still working. The system is trying to route power through all of them at once, which is why nothing is working. Can you replace the relays? Asked. Almost laughed. With what? Crystal relays are not exactly something I keep in my pocket. No, we cannot fix this the proper way. There is no time. Then what do we do? Reached into his tool belt and pulled out a length of copper wire. Real copper, from an old human shuttle that had been scrapped years ago. He had kept the wire because old habits died hard. Human engineers always kept spare wire. You never knew when you might need it. I am going to build a bypass, said. Manual, direct, ugly as hell, but it should work. A bypass. Our defense grid operates on quantum crystalline principles. You cannot just wire around it with primitive materials. Watch me. Began working. His hands moved fast, stripping insulation, bending wire, creating connections that no engineer would ever approve. The copper wire was thick and clumsy compared to the delicate circuits. It was like performing surgery with a hammer. But sometimes, a hammer was exactly what you needed. What are you doing? Asked. Through the communication link could hear other voices. The engineers were watching through's display and they did not sound happy. Your system is stuck because it is trying to find the perfect solution, explained as he worked. It keeps testing paths, looking for one that will work without losing any efficiency. But there is no perfect path anymore. Too many relays are dead. So what is your solution? I am giving it an imperfect path. A stupid path. This wire will connect the input directly to the output, skipping all the broken relays in between. But the power loss will be enormous. The efficiency will be terrible. Efficiency does not matter when you are dead, said. I do not need the defense grid to work perfectly. I just need it to work at all, even for a few seconds. He finished the first connection and started on the second. The wire was getting hot in his hands. The power flowing through the systems was enormous, and the copper was not designed to handle it. How long will your bypass last? Asked. Maybe 30 seconds, maybe 40. After that, the wire will melt. 30 seconds is not enough time to. It is enough time to reset the system, interrupted. When I complete this bypass, the defense grid will come online. In that moment, administrator needs to trigger a full system restart, a cold boot. That will clear the feedback loop and let the grid using the backup protocols. A cold boot will take at least 20 seconds. Then she better be fast. Connected the third wire. 2 more to go. His hands were shaking now, partly from the heat, partly from the knowledge of what he was about to do. If he made a mistake, the power surge could kill him instantly. He was holding wires that carried enough electricity to light a small city. One wrong move and he would be nothing but ash. Said quietly, the ships have attached to the hull, they are cutting through. We have maybe 5 minutes. Then stop talking and let me work. The fourth wire connected, paused, looking at the final connection. This was the one that would complete the circuit. The moment he touched this wire to the relay, everything would happen at once. Tell to get ready. The moment I complete this circuit, she needs to start the restart sequence, not 1 second later. She is ready. And thank you for being kind to me, for seeing me as a person. Do not talk like that. You are going to survive this. Maybe, maybe not, but either way I want you to know, not all are blind, some of you can see. Took a deep breath. He thought about Earth. He thought about the moon colonies where he had built and fixed and created. He thought about all the broken things he had repaired in his life and all the people who had never thanked him. He thought about what it meant to be human, to see something broken and feel the need to fix it, to never give up, even when the smart choice was to walk away. Then he stopped thinking and acted. His hand moved. The wire touched the relay. The world exploded into light. Power surged through the copper, through the damaged junction, through the entire defense grid. Felt the electricity in his bones, in his teeth, in his heart. For one terrible moment, he was part of the circuit. Then the grid came alive. Somewhere above him, he heard the rumble of shield generators powering up. He heard the whine of weapon systems coming online. He heard the thunder of the station's defense cannons beginning to fire. And then he heard nothing at all, because the pain became too much, and the darkness took him. The last thing he felt was the heat of the copper wire melting in his burned hands. The last thing he thought was a single word. Finally, the janitor had fixed the broken thing. Now someone else would have to clean up the mess, woke to the sound of gentle humming. He was lying on something soft, a bed but not his bed. This one was too comfortable. The air smelled clean and carried a faint sweetness like flowers after rain. Somewhere nearby, machines beeped in steady rhythms. He opened his eyes. The room was white and filled with soft light. Medical equipment lined the walls, displaying information in the flowing script of the language. His hands were wrapped in thick bandages, and when he tried to move his fingers, pain shot up his arms. But he was alive. "You are awake." Turned his head, stood beside the bed, his skin glowing with a warm golden light. The young's eyes held something that looked like relief. "How long?" asked. His voice came out rough and dry. 3 days. The doctors were not sure you would survive. The burns on your hands were severe and the electrical shock. Paused. They said any other human would have died. Let out a weak laugh. Good thing I am not any other human. Indeed. The door to the room slid open. Administrator entered, followed by Overseer. The administrator's glow was bright and strong again, the color of a clear sky. But's light was dim, and he would not meet's eyes. Cole said, stopping beside his bed, "You saved this station. You saved all of us." Looked at her, the raiders. Gone. When the defense grid came back online, our weapons drove them away. They fled into deep space. She paused. "You gave us exactly 32 seconds. It was enough." The restart worked. Perfectly. Once the feedback loop was broken, the backup systems initialized without problems. Our engineers are already replacing the damaged relays. They tell me the repairs will be complete within a week. Nodded slowly. His head felt heavy, and the pain in his hands made it hard to think. But one question pushed through the fog. "What happens now to me?" Was quiet for a moment. Then she did something that had never seen a do before. She bowed her head. "I owe you an apology," she said. "We all do. We looked at you and saw only what we expected to see, a primitive, a simple laborer. We did not see the engineer, the thinker, the man who understood our station better than we did." She raised her head and met his eyes directly. "Our society values intelligence and advancement. We believe that progress means leaving behind the old ways, the dirty work, the struggle. But you showed us something different. You showed us that sometimes the old ways work. Sometimes getting your hands dirty is the only answer." Overseer stepped forward. His glow flickered with something that might have been shame. "I was wrong about you," he said. The words seemed to cause him physical pain. "I dismissed your reports. I ignored your warnings. Because of my pride, this station almost fell." Stared at him. Of all the things he had expected, an apology from was not one of them. "Our engineers analyzed your repair," continued. "They called it primitive, inelegant, impossible." He paused. "They also called it brilliant. You did something that our best minds said could not be done. You saved us with copper wire and stubbornness." "That is what humans do," said quietly. "We are not elegant, we are not advanced, but we do not give up. We see a problem and we hit it with everything we have until it breaks or we do. And that is why we want you to stay," said. Blinked. "Stay." "Not as a janitor, as a consultant, an advisor on adaptive systems maintenance." Smiled, and it was strange to see such a human expression on an alien face. "We have realized that our technology has a weakness. It is too perfect, too rigid. It does not know how to fail gracefully. We need someone who understands how to work with broken things, someone who is not afraid to try ugly solutions." "You want me to teach your engineers how to think like humans?" "Yes, if you are willing." Thought about it. He thought about the years of being invisible, of being ignored and dismissed. He thought about all the times he had wanted to scream at to make them see what they were missing. And now they were asking him to help them see. "I have one condition," he said. "Name it." "I keep my cleaning cart." Made a sound of confusion. "Your cleaning cart, why would you want?" "Because the best way to understand a system is to clean up after it," said. "When you walk through the bright hallways, you only see the surface. But when you clean the floors, when you empty the trash, when you crawl through the dark tunnels, you see everything. The cracks, the problems, the truth." He looked at, "I will teach your engineers, but I will do it my way. And sometimes that means pushing a cart and getting my hands dirty." Nodded slowly. "Then you will have your cart." The room was quiet for a moment, then stepped forward, his young face serious. "I would like to be your first student," he said, "if you will have me." Looked at the young. He remembered all the times had stopped to talk with him, had treated him like a person instead of furniture. Of all the on this station, was the one who had already started to see. "I would like that," said. Over the next months, things changed on 7. Taught classes in what he called human engineering. He showed the how to improvise with limited materials, how to make repairs that were ugly but functional, how to think around problems instead of through them. It was not easy. They had spent thousands of years believing that elegance and perfection were the only acceptable standards. Learning to accept imperfection went against everything they knew. But slowly they learned. Became best student. The young had a gift for seeing possibilities that his people usually ignored. He asked questions that made even think differently. Together, they developed new approaches to maintenance and repair that combined precision with human adaptability. Word spread to other stations, other worlds. The story of the human janitor who saved a station became famous. Other species began to look at humans differently. They saw not just primitive apes struggling to catch up, but something else, something valuable. Humans were survivors, problem solvers. They had spent their entire existence on a difficult planet, fighting against nature and each other, learning to make do with whatever they had. That struggle had given them something that more advanced species had lost, the ability to fail, adapt, and try again. One evening, stood at the window of his new quarters, looking out at the stars. His hands still carried scars from the copper wire. They probably always would. Came to stand beside him. "What are you thinking about?" Earth said, "I wonder if they know about what happened here." They know. The story is spreading everywhere. Humans are no longer seen as just laborers and servants. You have changed how the galaxy sees your species. Shook his head. "I did not do anything special. I just fixed a broken thing, Any human would have done the same. That is exactly what makes you special, said. You see broken things and you cannot help but fix them. It is in your nature. Your people do not accept that something cannot be done. You just keep trying until you find a way. Smiled, or until we die trying. That too. They stood in silence for a while, watching the stars. Out there somewhere were the raiders who had attacked the station, and beyond them, countless other dangers. The galaxy was a wild and dangerous place. But it was also a place where a single janitor, armed with nothing but copper wire and stubbornness, could change everything. Turned away from the window. Tomorrow there would be more problems to solve, more broken things to fix. There always were. That was the nature of existence. But for now he was content. He had found his place in the universe, not as a primitive, not as a laborer, but as something else entirely. A human. And that, he was beginning to understand, was enough. It was more than enough. It was extraordinary.